once we finish with this level, I will be taking us to some various multiplayer maps and doing the same there. So I hope that you will join me as we explore what I find to be a very interesting world, the world of out-of-bounds areas in video games. So, we're just speed running through this opening area. I've turned on a few cheats, most notably infinite ammo, but you will also see that enemies explode into tires when I kill them, because it's funny, and I wanted to turn it on. The cheats in Modern Warfare are something that I miss. They were fun and added a nice, lighthearted reward for collecting the intel in the game, because the more intel you collected, the more cheats you unlocked. But what I really want to talk about today is the enjoyment of getting out of bounds in video games. Breaking games, you might say. Playing games in ways that you weren't. Oops, that explosion killed me. Playing games in ways that you weren't intended to, you might say. And it was a way that I really enjoyed playing games when I was younger. As a kid, I suppose it depends a little bit on, your parents' financial situation and how much stuff they got you, but as a kid, I had to, squeeze as much enjoyment out of a game as I could, because, it was not often that your parents would, or that my parents would, get me a new game. It took a lot of convincing, and usually just had to wait for a holiday, or a birthday, or I had to be a really sweet boy and give my biggest eyes and my little trembling lip and say, "Please, Mom, please, I really want this new game, please." But anyway, as a kid, I find you can just play things for so much longer. You can find enjoyment in something for so much longer. You require less externally introduced novelty. Anyway, here I am just getting out of the map. So what you just saw was, I don't even remember where I learned it. Many years ago, figured that one out. Probably heard it from somebody online or saw an old YouTube video about it, but the point of my story is just to say that I think one of the reasons that I really loved trying to get out of maps was that it was another way to possible. And, breaking the game like this felt like a really exciting thing. It was really cool to get out of the established areas, the areas that were intended for me as a player. But anyway, alright, here we are, out of the map. Or under the map, rather. Yeah, I don't know, there's something like rebellious, maybe, or just interesting about getting out of the map and seeing these areas and finding little hidden weird things, not even really Easter eggs because they weren't intentional, but just seeing how something off in the distance was actually a two-dimensional prop, right? Or how physical objects were, you could actually pass through them. Also, I pre-recorded all of this footage, and it's a little faster paced than my normal wandering videos. I'm basically just playing kind of as I normally would. So, the turns and stuff are going to be faster, and I hope that's okay. There's just a lot of space to cover in these out-of-bounds areas. They can be very large, and so I thought kind of walking through in a very slow, relaxed way might just end up being a little boring, maybe. But I don't know if you disagree. Please let me know, because this is an idea that I really like. It's been one that I've wanted to make a video on for a long time, because I used to try to do this in a lot of games. And so I would like to do this in more games. And so if you would prefer that I take my usual kind of chill pace for stuff like this in the out-of-bounds areas, please let me know, and I can definitely do that, and we can just walk through the large areas, take it a little more slowly. We have some tanks going off. That way I, later in the footage, try to respawn them, so that I can get a closer look at them. So this is, looking back into the map. We have a little camel sign there, camel crossing, I guess. And you'll see me shooting the ground a fair amount in this video. That is because you can usually tell based on a break in the geometry when you might be about to step on something that will actually make you fall through the map. But I tested out by shooting the ground, and if the bullets impact the ground, then I know it's safe to walk on. Whereas if the bullets just disappear in the ground, then I know I'm going to fall through and shouldn't walk on it. So, all that stuff in the distance, we can't get to because that ground is, illusory, basically. But yeah, a lot of these tricks, these out-of-bounds tricks, I don't remember how or when I learned them. There are a couple that I looked up to try to either refresh my memory or, in a couple cases, just find something that I didn't know about before. There are a ton of little glitch parkour type spaces in Modern Warfare, especially in the multiplayer maps. It was a lot more popular to try to find spaces, parkour spaces, because of game modes like Michael Myers, where you would want to try to get up somewhere protected where Michael Myers couldn't reach you with his melee weapon, his knife. One of the things I find interesting in exploring these out-of-bounds areas is what objects have collision and what objects do not. So this rubble here has collision, but these broken car chassis do not. That bridge up there does not have collision, but strangely this pipe above us does. You'll see that in a minute or two when I get up there. There's a little ladder over here, but of course we cannot climb that. Some refrigerators in the little drainage river thing here. This dumpster does have collision. So yeah, this will be the only campaign mission today. The rest will be multiplayer maps, and they're not to narrow down the scope of the video because, as I said, there's so many glitch spots and parkour type spots in the multiplayer maps that the community found over the years. I'm going to mainly focus on ones that get you completely out of bounds of the map, rather than just, interesting hiding spots. But yeah, as you saw, I could walk across that pipe, but this bridge is actually no collision. So that's one of those fun things that for me, I just, enjoy, just observing. Sorry, I'm just watching the footage and getting a little, engrossed in it, losing my train of thought. So yeah, the stuff today is mainly going to be trying to get fully out of bounds of a map and exploring these wide open spaces beyond. And when we get to the multiplayer maps, it's been a very long time, so I couldn't remember which ones were doable in normal game modes. And so I played all of the multiplayer maps in old school. And through the map again. I think we can just jump back in here though, somewhere. Yeah, there we go. And the old school game mode does a few scattered around the map. But for our purposes, what's important about it is that it lets you jump higher. And so you can do certain jumps that you cannot do in non-old school games. Just checking out these little tunnels. They just dead end in there. Same in here as well. So, I will be playing all of the multiplayer maps on old school. And I can't remember if any of the tricks I do can be done. There's some I know are only old school, but maybe some of them you could do normally as well, but I don't remember. There's also some tricks from this multiplayer that I never learned, like the elevator trick and stuff, where you can do some pretty crazy glitching and get to some really insane spots. I never learned how to do that. So the jumps I do are going to be pretty basic. And I think elevatoring is probably pretty easy if you just look up a tutorial, but I don't know how, so and I didn't bother looking it up. Can I cross this? No, that one is non-physical. So what's kind of cool about this map's out of bounds area in particular, is that, as you saw at the beginning of the mission, you fly into the map and cover quite a large stretch of terrain. And so it means that there's a lot of space out here to go explore. So when you come in from over the water, you pass over this dock area first. These old tricks and glitches and stuff, you know, they were sort of communal. YouTube was certainly a thing, but it wasn't as common back then for every little thing in a game to be sort of tutorialized on YouTube. You didn't have, tons of channels that were just posting glitches and hiding spots and stuff like that. So they were certainly out there, and usually accompanied by, Breaking Benjamin music or whatever. Those old YouTube videos are prime. 240p, blow me away, playing as the guy is doing glitch spots. See the helicopters out there. Some oil rigs as well. But yeah, so a lot of the knowledge of this stuff was passed around in-game, and I wasn't a huge multiplayer player at this time. It was with Black Ops and Modern Warfare 2 that I really started to sink time into these multiplayers. But, even with the more limited time with Modern Warfare that I had, you pick stuff up. The knowledge was kind of passed around communally within game, right? People would teach you how to do jumps in a game. You wouldn't go to YouTube to look it up for the most part. this crazy new glitch spot on Bog. I'm gonna show it to you. So, it was sort of mimetic, I guess, how they were spread back then. But now it's it's nice to have documentation, I guess, of stuff on YouTube. Lots of independent creators documenting stuff makes it a lot easier to find. I'll say this, as I was slipped through the map. So I don't think you ever die if you're falling like this. So I'll just cook a grenade and kill myself to respawn. But it's kind of fun watching the map disappear. And this will happen a number of times in this video. One thing that I found pretty annoying trying to look up tricks for this game in preparation for this video, trying to find, specific stuff that I remembered, or just finding new stuff that I never saw or just forgot about, was the fact that the naming conventions, right? The fact that they have remade Modern Warfare as a new game, it made it very difficult to search for these old videos. We have a little, not really an Easter egg, it's not, just a leftover asset from, I'm assuming when you're flying in on the helicopters, there's some enemy down here shooting at you. Yeah, sorry, my mind wandered off. The videos online, if you're searching Modern Warfare, so many of them are about the more recent Modern Warfare game, because, obviously it's more relevant to today, and people tend to search for it more, and there's a lot more YouTubers today that are making videos about it, even though, it's kind of an old game now. It's maybe not relevant at the moment, but it is still so much more prevalent in the search results. So, just another reason why I do not like them reusing names like this. Makes it hard to find the videos from, 16 years ago or whatever. But anyway, I figured out that I had to go to the door of the broadcasting station and then come out of the map to trigger the tanks to spawn. So I think that's what's happening here. If I turn around, here we have the tanks. Are these Abrams tanks? I'm not a military equipment guy. Don't really know all the names and stuff very well. Any knowledge I do have comes pretty much from Call of Duty and, the occasional, history documentary. But yeah, I think that's about all I do on this map. We might be moving on to the multiplayer now. I can't remember exactly. Also, how I just fell off there. Be prepared to see me fall a lot. I sped up the footage when, in one of these maps, it took me a very long time to get the glitch right. So I just fast forwarded the footage so that you can see how many attempts it was. But yeah, that's the out of bounds trick on Charlie Don't Surf. So we will move on now to whatever we have next. I don't remember. It might be Bog. I think I'm doing Bog next. But yeah. And actually with Bog, it's gonna be split screen because I needed a second player to help me with this one, so apologies for the split screen format. It's the only segment that will be split screen. If I had a second Xbox, I would have, tried to do System Link or something and avoided this, but anyway, for many of you, I'm sure this is not a big deal. It probably takes you back in your mind's eye to playing split screen when you were younger. And for you young whippersnappers out there, this is a display of how us geezers used to live. We used to have to walk uphill both ways to our game consoles, and when we did, we had to play 4-player split screen on Halo CE. But yeah. So I'm just trying to jump. I wasn't sure how much of my failures I should leave in to this video. If it would be like entertaining or not, but this one doesn't take too long. The real kicker is later on. So you jump up here, you have to use your friend as a little jumping platform. Then you jump up again onto this fence, and you have to jump over the gap. And then once you're over here, you can just walk along the barrier right here and over to this building, and at that point you can kind of go anywhere you want. Yeah, this map has some of the 2D stuff I was talking about, and we'll see a lot of that when we explore beyond this, but yeah, the getting out of bounds thing, just trying to figure out how to describe the appeal of it. I mean, it's the appeal of exploration, right? Of finding something hidden. Even though there's nothing really crazy out of bounds, the idea that it was not a place you were supposed to be, or not a place that most people ever saw, especially as a kid when you have, I don't know, a little bit more of an active imagination or something, and video games feel a little more, I don't know, maybe magical or maybe real. There's something about getting out into these strange territories that kind of reminds me of when I would be out in the real world exploring and, out in the woods behind my house or wherever I might be, on camping trips, and you go somewhere by yourself and you stumble into some strange glade, or you find some old lean-to that somebody built before you, again, as a child, there's something very special about that. It feels magical. It feels exciting. And I think the out-of-bounds areas have a similar sense to them. You know, you're walking through the woods in real life, and you come across, I don't know, a strange ring of trees that seem, you know, weirdly organized. Or you come across a crevice in the ground, or an old ruined piece of farming equipment or something. These are just some random things that I, you know, at various points in my childhood stumbled across, and there's a fascination with those things. And yeah, I just think that the out of bounds areas have a similar mystique. So it's just cool to explore. And in the digital world, right, in like these rendered, simulated worlds, a lot of what's special about it comes from the fact that you see through the illusion. What looks like a building when you're in the map turns out to be a two-dimensional object that you can just walk right through. Or you go to the edge of the map and it's just a sheer drop into nothingness. And, you know, seeing the breakdown of the world like that, the dissipation of the illusion of reality, is a very cool thing. And nowadays, games are a lot tighter with stuff like this. They really confine you a lot more. I know that with the Modern Warfare remastered, they closed off a bunch of these glitches in the multiplayer maps. I think some of them still remain, but a lot of them were sealed off. You couldn't do them anymore. Which is a shame, you know. But yeah, that's, I think, the appeal of stuff like this. So, Bog is mostly defined by these big cutout buildings, but there's also like a highway overpass sort of thing somewhere around here that I will stumble onto at some point. And there's another map. The one that takes me a very long time is because I kept trying to get onto an overpass. But this one's a lot easier. By the way, I'll just drop in the middle here a little plug for a YouTube channel, an ASMR channel. It is defunct. He does not post. He has not posted in like, I don't remember, maybe 3 years, something like that. But I really like his channel, and I've been watching it a lot recently, and I really want him to come back and post again. So I'm gonna recommend him, because my mission for all of you is to subscribe to him, so that, I don't know, I have this silly copium hope in my heart that, like, maybe if he gets a bunch of new subscribers, somehow he'll notice and be like, oh, I should make more videos. But anyway, his channel is called Caladiver ASMR. Caladiver ASMR. I will link it in the description Daggerfall, The Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. And I have been watching his videos for years at this point, but his Daggerfall videos, I'm like, those things I have gone back to probably hundreds of times in total. There's 5 of them. Also, I had to just cut out something. I don't know what made this noise, but somewhere in the wall there was this crazy noise, like a spring, like in a Looney Tunes cartoon or something when it goes ba-ba-boing. It was really loud, and I have no idea what caused it. Anyway, check out Caladiver ASMR, subscribe to him, and watch his Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall videos. He's a very gaming focused channel, so if you like my stuff, which is mostly video games, there's a good chance that you will like his stuff. But anyway, here we are on the highway, and that you will fall through in the middle there. So I am walking on the railing to get to the other side. And as before, I am frequently shooting in front of me whenever I'm kind of suspicious about if the ground is going to be solid or not. And just to make sure that I don't fall in and have to get back, have to do the jump to get back out of bounds again, because this jump was kind of tricky. The one from Charlie Don't Surf was very, very easy, and it was, takes 5 seconds to get out of bounds again, but this one was kind of tricky. So I did not want to do it again, so I'm being very careful to not fall into the abyss. You never know when you're going to bump into a little invisible wall. So, just try to find other ways around. This one I could actually drop down. So yeah, in, the Modern Warfare multiplayer, people would get into these kinds of spaces and then cause havoc in the match, which obviously was maybe not great overall, but there was a casual sort of joy to it, right? Like, the idea of playing a game, and even in multiplayer, it can afford to be a little bit broken. Nowadays, there's just more and more over time than, I guess, like a melding of the competitive video game scene with the casual video game scene. And I don't just mean with like ranked. I mean, obviously ranked games played a part in that and are a part of that. But I also mean the notion that every game needed to be as tightened up as possible, as fair as possible. If somebody was glitching or cheating, that was a massive, massive issue. And of course, I don't know, that stuff isn't good per se, but to my mind, there's something nice you're playing with your friends and somebody's cheating or has gotten out of bounds. Cheating like aimbotting is kind of more annoying, but something like getting out of bounds, getting in a funny place, and attacking people from there. There's something entertaining about that, right? Maybe in the moment, if you're getting killed by somebody out of bounds, that could be a little annoying, but you could also respond in a positive way, right? Or like be entertained by the humor of it. But if there's something like ranked matches, then suddenly it's a really big problem for people because their ranks are getting screwed with. And, it's not like the developers are going to have, if they need to clean up out-of-bounds spots because of the ranked scene, they're not going to leave those spots in non-ranked play. They're just going to push an update that applies it to the map wherever it's being played. And so, a lot of this kind of goofiness and breaking of the game in a multiplayer context has become increasingly squashed. And I totally understand the reasons to do that. I'm not saying that, like, a multiplayer game is best when it is full of glitches, right? But I think that maybe there's some kind of room for that to be a part of the multiplayer gaming world. What was that game that kind of surged for a bit a while ago, like Battle Bits? I never played it, but from the outside looking in, my impression of that was part of the reason why it was so enjoyed by people was that it was just a completely casual, chaotic, goofy time. There was no real pressure on being good or competitive or whatever. Anyway, what do you think of that? Is there any, am I making sense at all? Does that have any truth to it, or am I being crazy? I guess what I'm saying is, like, you think of the Michael Myers game mode in Modern Warfare, how much of that game mode revolved around glitching, right? Getting into glitch spots. And then the person playing Michael Myers might just sit there for 10 minutes trying to do the jumps, but being unable to do it, right? And yet there was still some kind of fun happening in that context that made people keep on playing Michael Myers. Anyway, here we go, falling from bog. So we will move on from the split screen. I forget which one we have next. It might be wet work next. That's a pretty short one. Just watch the map drift off into the distance, become smaller and smaller. I was kind of curious if at any point I would hit a death trigger here, but I didn't, and I don't think there is a death trigger for falling off the maps like this. Yeah, okay, we are on wet work here. This one is very small. It's a little less. It's not super out of bounds in the same way that the previous two examples have been. In that you can't like walk around very much. But you go up here, and I think I fall off a few times. There we go. Fall to my death. But you can get up here and then land on the map barrier. So anyway, you can watch me fail for a bit here. And zombies infected, the sort of evolution of the Michael Myers custom game, where a zombie would, run around and try to infect the other players, and then they would become zombies as well to help infect the rest. Eventually added, like, throwing knives or tomahawks into the game mode. And so you saw that I landed on the barrier there, but I did fall right after, so not quite, but I did want to show you guys this one just because with the idea that all of these are sort of getting out of the map, this one does get out of the map, but you happen to just fall immediately when you do. Also, I am jumping on the wrong platform and not realizing it. And there we go. I look off in the distance and see that I'm at the wrong one, so. But yeah, they added, thrown weapons to the infected game mode. Because, of course, if people get up into glitch spots and the person playing the zombie is incapable of doing the parkour necessary to get up to that spot, then the game can just kind of get stuck. And so the developers are like, well, that's not good. And so they give tomahawks or throwing knives, depending on the game, to the infected so that they can reach people who are in hiding places, right? If you're up on a telephone pole that's really hard to jump onto, they can just throw a tomahawk up at you because you're completely a sitting duck. But, and that's not like, I was trying to, there we go, I'm falling. I love how you can see the sky in the box of the map, and then it kind of disappears, as the, darkness of the non-map area, cloaks it. Just has an interesting look, like you're looking through a window. I think with this one I was just trying to land on the map barrier just to show you that you can do that. And I can't remember if you're on the map barrier here, you might be able to walk along it and get to other parts of the ship. I don't remember exactly, but this might be the one. Yeah, there we go. So I just wanted to show you that you can actually stand up here. And then, I think I just, jump off. Yeah. Goodbye, boat. So, yeah, so the idea of, is it fun for a match to get kind of stuck like that, where the infected or the Michael Myers just cannot reach the people who have the skills to get up to these parkour spots? Is that fun, or is that unfun, right? And I think there's an argument to be made for both, but certainly it's, I think, generally unfun to be the person if you just can't get up there. And I actually really liked Infected, even when they added the throwing knives and stuff in the official versions of the game mode. But anyway, here we are on the map Backlot. And I'm just at the moment looking around for the right building. Looking for a construction building, and I found it here. So this one, you can do a couple things. You go up here, and then you can jump on this railing, and then jump up to the roof of the building. Uh-oh. Grumbling stomach. Sorry about that. You can jump up here, and then jump onto the windowsill there. Not quite. But then from there you can either go up the next set of stairs and get to the rooftop, or you can do what I'm going to do, which I'll show you when I actually land it. But once you get up to the rooftop, you can then kind of hop around from roof to roof, which is pretty cool. There's some paths up there to do whatever on. But what I'm trying to do is get through here, and you have to go prone. But it wasn't letting me go prone. You have to find the right angle for it. And then, now that I'm prone, you need just rotate yourself in just the right way, and it's very sticky and makes it difficult to do, but there you go. Now you're through, and you just have to kind of, this fall damage probably isn't actually even fatal, but I'm just being very careful here, and you walk forward and drop down once, and then drop down again, and then you're out of bounds. But yeah, I'm gonna do a Cold War video, Black Ops Cold War, and in Cold War I didn't really play the multiplayer very much, except to play Infected with my friends. And in that one, the zombies have throwing knives, and it's fine, it's still a very fun game mode. And, there's less, glitch spots because of how tight modern developers sort of make their maps. There may have been one or two, I don't remember, but I don't think so. I think pretty much the Cold War maps are all sealed up tight, and you had to sort of play the game normally, I suppose. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a fun game mode still. It's very stressful to see a tomahawk whiz by your head. It's very thrilling to be fighting with your buddy, and then a tomahawk flies in and just beans him in the forehead. And you're like, oh shit, that could have been me. So it's still a very exciting game and a lot of fun, I think. But, sometimes there should be room for both kinds of fun, right? But maybe at the same time, if you try to have everything, you split a player base too much, and then you don't have a healthy community for anything in particular. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, here we are on the outskirts of Backlot, and I'm just avoiding those black pits because I drop down to your death and then have to respawn. And in a multiplayer match where people are on the hunt for you, you might not get many opportunities to actually get out of the map because people will be, they're not going to be polite and stand aside and just watch you struggle for a bit as you try to do the parkour necessary to get out of the map. So you have the big skybox out there, and the very edge of this terrain you can actually walk on, and then way down below this strange, I don't know, just this desolate landscape that is very alien, very artificial, and interesting to look at. And then that big circle right down below us. But yeah, one of the things that I also find interesting is the size of these out-of-bounds areas. Sometimes they're just really, really big swaths of empty space, and I'm sure it's because, can I make this jump? Yes, I can. I'm sure it's because the developers just, load in a giant chunk of basic terrain to then build upon. But then it's fun when you get out there and you're like, it's crazy that I can just run for, 3 minutes in a straight direction. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but it's funny that you can do that, right? I like how on this one the darkness is forming a sort of obstacle course a little bit in this area. Or it's like, what do you need to do to avoid, jump from structure to structure to avoid the darkness. But we might be stuck here. We might have botched this one. I don't think there's any getting back up at this point. So this is probably a moment where I just look for the exit and then drop the edge rather, and then drop down to my death. But it is kind of fun being underneath, and you can look up at all of the assets from below. It's kind of a cool perspective. In the end, oh, did I fall? Yes, I did. Okay. There's the map. Now there is Backlot disappearing into the distance. So, as we watch that one fly away. This map is called Crossfire, and this is the one where I have a lot of sped up footage. So, first this is what I'm trying to conquer, this initial, step one, basically. And you have to come up here, jump onto this railing, and then jump to the right onto a little block, jump back up to the left, and then you're on the roof. But this is the very beginning of me trying it, and so I have to rediscover the muscle memory, as it were, and actually remember how to get up there. I get pretty good at it at a certain there's not another segment after this empty space, but that looked like these had collision, so I thought maybe I could walk on them. But it seems like they just kind of fell apart, or lost their collision at a certain point, or I don't know. But yeah, this whole getting out of maps thing was a sort of recurring element of like Call of Duty games for me for a bit. I remember trying to get out of missions on like Modern Warfare 2 and stuff like that. So I've definitely forgotten a lot of the tricks and the secrets and stuff that I used to know back in the day, but I'm remembering that there was also RPG jumping in this, where if you jumped and shot an RPG, it would actually get you a little bit higher from some sort of backward thrust of the RPG, I guess, that they modeled in. So if you shot a rocket below you, it would give you a little more lift, and there's some jumps from back in the day that required that RPG jumping. Just kind of fun. So, yeah, let me know if you like this idea. I really like it because it just kind of, I don't know, it's just one of those weird little passions that I had as a kid. And so I think I'm probably going to do more videos like this. Honestly, the tricky thing will be remembering the stuff, and if I don't remember, having to try to look stuff up. But as I said before, it being all like polluted by the more modern Modern Warfare games. But I remember doing this in like Black Ops 1 as well, so I think I'll probably do more of this, but let me know if you like it. Also, this one has such a long, you can hardly even see the map at this point from this far out, which is just really fun to me. Get to the very corner of the world, look down at the strange, swirling maelstrom thing below us. It's like a maelstrom of land and sand. I should have done a jump 360 no scope off of that. But yeah, and then from back in the map we can look out here and see that's where we just jumped off. But that is the end of my glitching out of bounds footage. So thank you so much